Alright, hi Miss Mir. It's Justin from Third Hour Honors American Studies, and this is my project for the book assignment. I read your book, The Glass Castle, and it's Jeanette Walls' memoir. We read about Jeanette as a child, and we see her grow up. We read about her and her family. Jeanette has a little brother and an older sister named Lori and a younger sister named Maureen. The little brother's name is Brian. Throughout the book we see them go through these struggles between moving all over the place, never having money, and just being overall a poor family. They have a ton of issues. The family it's just not constructed well at all. Jeanette's dad is a drunk, and we see him when they move to Nevada. We see him go to the casino all the time and waste whatever money he's earned that day at the casino after he got fired from his job at the mine. He would go and get terribly drunk and come home and yell and scream and fight with everybody, and at one point he even hangs Jeanette's mom out of the window, screaming, "I'll kill you, I'll kill you." And we come from that, we see their dad wants to build a glass castle. It's been his dream, was to build this glass, like a literal glass castle that they would live in together, it would be their house. And he even had a little machine that he built to dig through the ground and find gold, and he could never keep enough money to keep that project going or even start on it. And when they move into Welch with their dad's family, you see where he came from, and you see why he is how he is. Like, his mom is a terrible drunk, she's a racist, and all this other stuff, and they just live in a grimy, rundown house. It's a town of miners, and they eventually move out because Lori ends up hitting the grandma. I can't remember her name. And so they go and they buy a house, a little rundown shack. It's 3 bedrooms and it has a concrete basement and doesn't have any indoor plumbing. The heat comes from a stove. And while their dad is out earning money, they dig a foundation for the glass castle, and eventually they can't pay for it. They can't pay for the garbage bill, so they end up throwing all the garbage into the hole, and so everybody makes fun of them for that. And we end up, it gets to the point where the Lori and Jeanette and Brian are being bullied at school, and so they get beat up and thrown rocks at and all that good stuff. And we see this terrible lifestyle, and we get to read about Jeanette growing up and eventually moving into New York and having a job and meeting, what's his name, the first boyfriend. After she graduates high school, she moves in with him, and we see that work out well for a long time. And he's nothing like Jeanette's dad, and that's what she loves. And then Jeanette gets a call from Dad saying that he wants her to come visit, and while he's at it, come bring a bottle of vodka, and she gives in because she loves him. And so at that moment, we see that we find out that her dad has tuberculosis and is going to die. And he stays in the hospital for 6 weeks, and then he wants to get a job. He does get a job, and because he knows that if he goes back to drinking, he's going to die. And mom convinces him to come back with her, and they fight and all that, and they end up, for Christmas that year in New York, they go to Laurie's apartment, and they all buy their parents nice gifts for them. And we see that her dad storms out, just walks out, because he can't bear to see the fact that when he couldn't even support his family, that they can support him, that his daughters can support him. And we see that after that storm out, they go, and Laurie is grown up, and so are all the other kids, and we see that mom and dad are now squatters. They're living, they're kind of roaming. And we see Jeanette being invited over to the place, to mom and dad's place, and they all, like mom and dad are happy. They're happy with being squatters. And Jeanette has found a new home with her boyfriend Eric. That's his name. And they're happy for a while. And eventually we see that mom comes and visits Jeanette, and she thinks that she's become too comfortable because she has all these nice things. And then we see that dad dies. And right before dad dies, we see Maureen, stabs mom because mom tells her to move out after graduating high school. And after that, dad dies. And at the end of the book, we see we're at the funeral, and we see that they're all gathered together like a family, and they're giving a toast to their dead dad. And Jeanette's happy because that's what he would have wanted. And that is my response for The Glass Castle by Jeanette Walls.